Have you ever lost your temper over something tiny? You're not alone. It's that moment when a simple comment, a minor inconvenience, or a slight delay sends your emotions spiraling out of control. But what if I told you that your emotions aren't your enemy, they're just signals? They're like a weather forecast. They tell you what's happening inside you, not what you should do. The key is to understand them, not suppress them. Neuroscience explains why we often lose our cool. Your brain's amygdala, the emotional center, reacts faster than your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reasoning and self-control. It's like a fire alarm going off before the fire department arrives. You feel the emotion before you even realize what's happening. That's why you might lash out in anger or panic before you even know why. But here's the good news. You can train your brain to respond instead of react. It's like learning to ride a bike. Once you've mastered the balance, you no longer fall over. You can start by pausing, breathing, and asking yourself, what am I feeling and what do I want? This simple shift from reaction to response is the first step toward inner peace. What if you could stop reacting and start responding? When we're caught in a surge of emotion, it's as if our brain has been hijacked by something outside of our control. This isn't just a feeling, it's a biological reality. Our brain's limbic system, particularly the amygdala, acts as the emotional alarm system. It's designed to detect threats and react instantly, even if the threat isn't real. This is the fight or flight response, a survival mechanism that once kept us safe from predators. But in today's world, it can be triggered by a text message, a conversation, or a thought. Imagine your brain as a remote control. Sometimes you're the one holding it, but other times it's being operated by an unseen hand. That's what happens during emotional hijacking. The amygdala takes over, bypassing the more rational parts of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex. This is why we can feel overwhelmed, impulsive, or even angry without fully understanding why. We've all been there, caught in a moment we can't explain, reacting before we think. It's normal, but understanding how our brain works is the first step toward taking back control. Let's explore how to retrain that remote control and reclaim your inner peace. Have you ever tried to think your way out of a strong emotion? Maybe you were angry, anxious, or sad and you told yourself, I should just calm down, or I need to stop overthinking this. But somehow the emotion just won't let go. That's because emotions aren't just thoughts, they're deeply rooted in our biology, shaped by our survival instincts and the way our brains are wired. When we're in an emotional state, our prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking, gets overridden by the amygdala, which is like the brain's alarm system. It's not that your mind isn't working, it's just that it's reacting to a perceived threat, real or imagined, with a fight-or-flight response that's hard to override with logic alone. This is where mirror neurons come in. These are the brain cells that allow us to empathize, understand others' emotions, and even mimic their behavior. That's why emotions are so contagious. When you see someone upset, you might feel it too, even if you're not sure why. It's not just about being sensitive, it's a biological fact. So when you're trying to think your way out of an emotional moment, you're not just battling your own mind, you're also caught in a web of shared human experience. Take Sarah, for example. She was in a heated argument with her friend and tried to reason her way out of the anger. But no matter how logical her arguments were, her friend wasn't listening. It wasn't about logic, it was about feeling. And that's the key. Emotions aren't meant to be suppressed, they're meant to be understood. When you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or stressed, your body is in fight or flight mode. But what if I told you there's a simple, science-backed way to instantly reset your emotional state in just 3 seconds? Meet the 3-second rule, a powerful technique that taps into the body's natural ability to calm down. By taking 3 deep, mindful breaths, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's built-in relaxation response. Think of it as hitting a reset button for your mind and body. Here's how it works. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for a moment, then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. Repeat this cycle 3 times. Each breath signals your brain to shift from stress mode to calm mode. This isn't just about breathing, it's about creating a pause, a moment of clarity, and a space to choose how you respond instead of reacting. Imagine your emotions as a storm. The 3-second rule is the calm before the storm. It gives you the chance to step back, breathe, and refocus. When you practice this, you're not just managing emotions, you're reclaiming control. Try it now, even just once. How would your day change if you could pause and reset whenever you needed? Emotional triggers are like hidden landmines in our minds, unseen, unpredictable, and capable of causing explosive reactions. They are shaped by our past experiences, often formed in childhood when we learned to survive through emotional patterns. These triggers are not inherently bad. They are survival mechanisms that once helped us navigate a world that felt unsafe. But over time, they can become outdated, leading us to react in ways that no longer serve us. Just like landmines, we don't have to step on them, but we need to know where they are. Awareness is the first step to disarming them. When we recognize the patterns that cause us to feel overwhelmed, angry, or anxious, we create space between our emotions and our actions. Neuroscientists tell us that the brain is wired to respond to threats, but it doesn't distinguish between a real threat and a memory of one. By becoming aware of our triggers, we can pause, breathe, and choose a different response. Take a moment to reflect. What situations consistently make you feel out of control? What emotions do you feel when those situations arise? What was your earliest memory that might have shaped this response? By exploring these questions, you begin to rewrite your story. Awareness is the key to unlocking inner peace and reclaiming your power. When we feel overwhelmed by emotions, it's easy to let them take over. But what if I told you that simply naming your emotions could be the key to unlocking emotional freedom? The brain is wired to respond to language, and by labeling your feelings, you create a sense of distance from them. Think of emotions like storms. They come with force and intensity, but the more you name them, the less they control you. When you say, "I'm feeling frustrated," you're not just acknowledging a feeling, you're creating a space between you and the emotion, allowing clarity to return. Neuroscience shows that labeling emotions activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thought and self-awareness. This helps reduce the amygdala's response, which is the brain's emotional center. When you name an emotion, you're essentially giving it a voice, which calms its power. For example, instead of reacting with panic, you might say, "I'm scared," or "I'm feeling anxious." These simple statements can shift your mindset from being controlled by the emotion to being in control of it. Next time you feel a surge of anger or sadness, pause and name it. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? When emotions run high, it's easy to react before we think. But what if I told you there's a simple tool that can help you break free from the cycle of emotional reactivity? It's called the pause technique, a powerful method to create space between an emotional trigger and your response. Think of it like a timeout in a game. Just as a pause allows you to reassess the rules of the game, a mental pause gives you the chance to step back, breathe, and choose how to respond instead of reacting on autopilot. Neuroscience tells us that our brain's amygdala, the part responsible for emotional responses, often acts before the prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of rational thought. By introducing a pause, you're giving your brain a moment to catch up. This small gap in time can make all the difference. To use the pause technique, first recognize the trigger. Then, take a deep breath and count to 3. Next, ask yourself, what would I do if I had 10 seconds to think? This simple question can shift your mindset from instinct to intention. Practice this in everyday situations, whether it's a heated conversation, a moment of frustration, or a stressful situation. Over time, this habit will help you build inner peace and emotional resilience. The human brain is like a muscle, strong, adaptable, and capable of incredible growth when nurtured with intention. Just as physical exercise builds muscle strength over time, consistent mental practice can rewire your brain for emotional resilience. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, means that every thought, emotion, and action leaves a lasting imprint. The more you practice emotional regulation, the stronger your brain becomes in handling stress, disappointment, and uncertainty. Imagine your brain as a garden. Some areas may be overgrown with weeds of anxiety or anger, but with care, you can cultivate resilience. Daily reflection, journaling, and mindfulness are the tools that help you prune those weeds and plant seeds of calm. These practices don't just help you manage emotions, they transform how your brain responds to them over time. Consistency is key. Like building a muscle, emotional resilience doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, showing up each day with intention. Ask yourself, how can I create small, daily habits that nurture my emotional well-being? By embracing these practices, you're not just surviving, you're thriving, building a brain that's stronger, wiser, and more at peace. You are more than your emotions, you are the calm observer of your inner world. Think of emotions like weather. They come and go, shifting with the seasons of your life. Some days it's sunny and bright, others stormy and turbulent. But you are not the weather, you are the sky. The sky remains steady, vast, and unshaken by the clouds. You are the same. When you feel anger, fear, or sadness, know that these emotions are temporary visitors, not your permanent identity. Neuroscience tells us that our brains are wired to react first and think later, but we have the power to change that pattern. By observing your emotions without judgment, you create space between stimulus and response. This is where true peace begins. I've been there, feeling overwhelmed by my own emotions, losing myself in the chaos. But when I started seeing myself as the observer, not the emotion, everything shifted. Try this. When an emotion arises, pause, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Then gently remind yourself, I am not this feeling. I am the one who feels it. This small shift in perspective can lead to profound change. You are not your emotions. You are the calm, centered person who can choose how to respond. Your life is waiting. Take control today. Every moment you spend reacting to emotions instead of choosing how to respond is a moment you're giving away. Neuroscience tells us that our brain's amygdala, the emotional center, reacts faster than our prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part of the brain. But what if you could flip that script? What if you could train your brain to pause, breathe, and choose a response that aligns with your values and goals instead of your impulses? That's the power of emotional mastery. You're not asking to suppress your emotions, you're asking to understand them and guide them. Like a sailor steering a ship through stormy waters, you can choose the course of your life. You can create a daily practice of mindfulness, journaling, or even just a few deep breaths before reacting. These small choices compound over time, leading to a life of clarity, purpose, and peace. Your emotions are not your boss, they are your allies. You have the power to choose how they influence your actions. What would your life look like if you never let your emotions control you again?